These are our interviews with the candidates for the municipal election of 2021 in the city of Holyoke, Massachusetts. And I want to welcome Jose Maldonado Velez, who is candidate for city council at large. Welcome. Thank you for being here with us. And if you would like to start by introducing yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Johan, for asking all the candidates, not just me, but asking us all to be here and answer some questions. I love all that Holyoke Media does and making sure that they're communicating what's happening to our city, to our residents. So thank you for that. So my name is Jose Luis Maldonado Velez. I am running for councilor at large. I am born and raised right here in our city, strong Puerto Rican roots. My parents went through the Holyoke public school systems, went away for school, and really spent the last decade of my life really exploring different parts of the US. And one thing that it has been clear to me is that we, the people, are the ones that are in charge of creating the community and the society that we want. So when I think of my campaign and why I'm running is that to really my campaign slogan is not me, nosotros, because this is bigger than just me. This is making sure that all of us are doing the work in some way, shape, or form to make our city the best that it can be.
So as part of your campaign for city council at large, what are your top priorities as a candidate?
So my top priorities as a candidate, I can think of two right off the bat. The first one would be being an alternative to what we usually picture when we think of a politician. So not just Holyoke, I think nationwide, when we think of politician, we think old white man. And in Holyoke, that is also the case. And I just want to be different. I want to change that narrative that the only way you can be a politician is if you fit in this box, when in reality, a politician should be representative of the community that it's chosen to represent. So whether it comes down to the language, so I'm bilingual, I can speak both Spanish and English. The culture growing up, my lived experience growing up in the flats and the certain parts of the city that people don't want to go to, and really seeing all the different levels of services depending on where you live. That's one of my priorities. And then the second priority is to win. When I say win, I don't mean just getting a seat on the council November 2nd. I say that our message of not me nosotros, I want that message to win. Because the reality is this is a 2-year term that's coming up. So we want to make sure that, and this is 1 seat out of 13. So we just want to make sure that there's more candidates coming along that feel that they can get a seat at the table and they should feel like they have the right to. And I feel like the conversation that I've had with people door knocking, this is what they want. They want something different. They want something that represents our city and what Holyoke truly is. So that's really my priorities as a candidate.
Once this election concludes and is decided who will be sitting at city council, then it comes the priorities on what is the work. There are many things to consider, many things to do. So should you become city councilor at large, what will be your top priorities to work on?
So my platform, the platform for our campaign sits on 3 pillars: it's technology, infrastructure, and unity. And that sort of can translate to what I feel like I would be able to accomplish in the first 2-year term. So when it comes to technology, I see it as really investing in our systems. So just one example, DPW, making sure that they have the proper garbage trucks or that their machines are operating so that we spend less time troubleshooting and worrying about how we're going to get things done and actually getting things done. The second part of my campaign is infrastructure. And with infrastructure is we can have all the best systems in the world, but if we don't have the process, the foundation and the process on how those systems operate and work with each other, then it won't mean anything. So when I think of infrastructure, something that can accomplish in the 2 years is really streamlining, for example, the ways we obtain permits and licenses. I don't understand why in the year 2021, we can't go online if you're a new business and want to start a new business, or you're a current business owner and want to obtain a license for some sort of event, why can't this process just be easy and done online? And then the third part of my campaign is unity. So what I mentioned earlier today is like November 2nd is just one stepping stone. There's no really winning or losing. There's winning a C or learning about for 2023. So when I think of unity, I think of the concrete steps that I would take is one, door knocking. So door knocking is something that I believe should stay even beyond the election, whether it be once a week, making sure that we're talking to people, talking to the residents, bringing it together. Quarterly town halls, making sure that there's ways for the public and the residents to really have their voices actually be heard and appreciated. And yeah, those are my top three.
And listening to this last point on unity connects directly with the next question, which is how will you encourage more civic engagement throughout the city?
So one of the things you can't do is you can't force people to do anything, right? If they don't want to do something, you can't force them to do anything. So what I've been doing in door knocking is asking them, what is it that they care about? You know, because a lot of times those that are really, really involved in the community have these issues of like, it's trash, it's the opioid crisis, it's the lack of education, all this, but we're not talking to the actual residents that are living day in, day out in our city. So I think the very first step is literally asking people, what issues do you care about? What's coming up for you? What is it? What's important for you? So the other day I went door knocking and there were 3 interactions, one after the other. And there was a former educator that her issue was around the schools. Then the second person I spoke with, they are criminal justice, they do work within the criminal justice field, and their issue was around public safety. And then the last person that I spoke to, their issue was really about the climate crisis that we're currently in and transitioning to green energy. And although those 3 issues sort of look separate, the reality is that they all interconnect some way, shape, or form. So as you get further into, you know, around public safety, one big thing is prevention. So making sure that we're providing an educational foundation so that we can keep people out of the criminal justice system. When we think of transitioning to green energy, same thing with education. We need to have an educated population to maintain these systems that we're about to start creating that are going to go into the future. So what I'm trying to say with that is, even though these 3 people are focusing on their own things, they also all connect. So to answer your question, it literally is that. How would I encourage more civic engagement is literally asking people, what is it that you care about? How can you make this one issue, this one situation much better? And then naturally, all these different sort of connections will happen. I think beyond that, something that's also, you know, this very big picture of something that's smaller is also just being a resource for people. So for example, if someone's issue is there's a lack of art in our city, letting them know, hey, we have a cultural council that gives grants to small organizations and individuals. If someone's issue is the schools, letting them know, hey, we have school committee meetings at this point that you can get involved with. So really talking to the people, asking them what they care about, and letting them know this is how you can make these situations better. So being that resource for them.
Earlier in this conversation, you mentioned some of the issues the city has with particularly new businesses, with the process for permits and opportunities for improvement. So talking more specifically about the business industry and everything related to new businesses in the city, what are for you the most pressing issues that businesses are facing, and how will you propose to resolve them?
Yeah, so something I mentioned earlier, we can take a step back. So in conversation with businesses, they all have this common theme, which is it's very hard to start a business. And once the business is started, it's very hard to obtain licenses and permits for whatever reason it may be. And one of them is because we don't utilize our website to its full capability. I think there's a huge opportunity there to make sure that these sort of, so that the things that the businesses need, it's easier for them to obtain. Now there's a deeper issue, which is the reality of not many people coming to our city, whether it's this perceived idea that we're a dangerous city, that there's too many panhandlers around, we're drug infested. There's not people coming into our city. So when I think of the pandemic and when I think of the businesses that have been really successful and businesses that even expanded in the last year, they've realized that the customers do not only exist within our city limits. They are shipping their items across the US, all 50 states, or they're attending food festivals in other cities and towns, or they're having food festivals like pop-up shops and all this stuff. So I think the pressing issue, and so when I think of like the pop-up shop, when I think of food festivals, even that is one of the issues where it's hard for businesses to obtain permits and licenses to do these things. But that's an opportunity right there for low entry level costs for our businesses. So I think the most pressing issue it really is the outdated system that we keep in place instead of progressing and moving with the industry of the world. So
you mentioned there are plenty of opportunities for improvement, and when we talk about particularly this situation with businesses, but when we see also overall the different things that are successful, that are positive, that are the beauty of what Holyoke is today, what do you think the city has done right lately?
I think we've done a lot. I mean, the reality, there's this, going back to like these ideas of what it means to be in poverty or whatever, the people that have stayed in Holyoke are the ones that have kept Holyoke going. You know what I mean? So in a pandemic, we came together and we created mutual aid efforts. In a pandemic, we opened new businesses. In a pandemic, we expanded new businesses, like I just said. We created more mixed housing units. We've created opportunities and events. So I think that what the city has done right lately is that the residents as a whole have realized, and what I mentioned at the very beginning of the interview, is that we all have the power to create the city that we want to create. It's not just about being a city councilor, business owner. It's just literally just taking an active role in what happens in our community. And I really think that that's what's really been done right lately. And I think we've gotten glimpses of it. And I'm hoping that we do even more. And that's what I'm really hoping
for. Changing a little bit of topic, and let's address the Holyoke Public Schools. Our school district has been under receivership and control of the state for the past 5 years. What are your thoughts on receivership?
My thoughts on receivership. I believe it is a very complicated issue. And why I say it's a complicated issue is because I think a lot of us have this idea, or a lot of us or some candidates are selling this idea that once we regain local control of our schools, everything's going to be great and perfect again. One thing that I really want to stress, and I think I touched upon it a little bit earlier, whereas we can have local control of our schools, but the society, the child's development is not just 8 to 3, Monday through Friday, fall, winter, spring. It happens the whole 18 years that you're growing up. So we really need to start asking ourselves, are we ready for local control? And what other aspects in our community do we need to improve on to make sure that once we do get local control, they're not falling through the cracks after school or on the weekends or whatever it may be. So really having deeper conversations to like, what kind of society, what kind of community do we want to have for our teenagers? I know for me personally, growing up, we had the Holyoke Youth Commission, and that was a huge outlet for me to, growing up in the flats, I had somewhere to go. The Boys and Girls Club was also another avenue for me. A lot of these programs don't exist anymore, or they're very, very minimal. So we need to really not just think about the schools and getting local control, but really start looking at the child's development as a whole, and what can we do as the city council, as a city, to make sure that students are not falling through the cracks. With that said, I do believe that we need some clear action steps, and I believe that every single candidate that's running can agree on this, is that we need some sort of clear, concrete action steps as to how can we get out of receivership. And then so that we can start planning as to what that can look like after we get out of it. But I don't think, and the reason why this is a complicated issue is because I don't think getting local control is the only solution to what the ending of receivership. There's a lot more that needs to be involved in that.
This is our conversation with Jose Luis Maldonado Velez, candidate for City Council at large in this municipal election of 2021 in the city of Holyoke. Is there anything else that you would like to add, Jose Luis?
I would say if you've seen this whole interview, that means that you may have connected with something I may have said, or you want to learn more. So I would just want to put my website out there, maldonadoveles.com. You can access there. You can join our campaign. Like I said, our campaign is not me nosotros. So all of us have some sort of role to play to make Holyoke the best that it can be. And I really enjoy talking to people. I really enjoy listening and seeing how everything interconnects with each other to make sure that we're creating a society that benefits all of us. And the only way that will be possible is by having conversations. So if you choose not to have a conversation with me, I hope you're having a conversation with neighbors or whatever it may be, whatever that may look like, whatever unity may look like for you. I hope that we get to the next level as a city. And I hope that I get your vote on November 2nd. So thank you. And thank you, Johan and Holyoke Media for this.